Build a great resume. Stand out from the crowd. Your resume is a one-of-a-kind marketing communication tailored for the employer and the job. Powerfully Communicating Me is a 3-part series helping you to uniquely communicate who you are in a job search. Unleash the power of your personal brand using Brand Me by developing unparalleled job search marketing materials using Market Me that clearly tell your story. And finally, ensure your resume is top-notch with ResuMe. With employers' needs top of mind, let's get started powerfully communicating me. Let's explore the building blocks of a great resume. A resume is a summary of you, your professional, educational, and job-related knowledge, skills, and abilities. Written for a particular employer, a resume is a concise summary of how you are the best resource for a particular position. So every resume is a one-of-a-kind marketing communication. A resume is one of the very few opportunities you will have to make an impression on a prospective employer. Like it or not, the resume is the most common and accepted tool in our job searches. Research shows that only 1 interview is granted for every 200 resumes received by the average employer. Research also tells us that your resume will be quickly scanned. 10 to 20 seconds is all the time you'll have to persuade an employer to read further. Your resume has purpose, to get attention, and to get an interview. A resume is an advertisement. A great resume doesn't just tell what you've done, it tells the benefits of hiring you. It's pleasing to the eye. It inspires the employer to pick up the phone and ask you to an interview. So, where do you begin? Great question. It's a mistake to think of your resume as a history of your past or as a personal statement. Sure, most of the content of any resume is focused on your job history, but write from the intention to create interest, to persuade an employer to give you a call for an interview. Selling yourself can be difficult. However, creative and persuasive communication is necessary in resume development, so follow these 3 simple guidelines. First, know what's out there. Take a look at sample resumes as inspiration. Other resumes can be great inspiration for your own direction. However, do not simply copy a sample. Don't even think about it. Use samples only as inspiration to create a document that is uniquely you. Second, know your brand. Be able to identify what makes you, you. Your personal brand should clearly communicate who you are and what differentiates you. Design your written and visual content to communicate your brand. And number 3, know the job. Gather as much information about the job you are applying for as possible. Have the job posting, the job description, talk with people who know the organization or position. Find as many resources as possible. Review those resources and then re-review them. Craft your resume around what you've learned about the job and the organization. As you take in all of the resume wisdom out there, there are 3 rules of resumes to always keep in the forefront of your mind. Second, design it well. There is uniformity and consistency in the use of design decisions, such as italics, bullets, and bold typeface. Use good judgment and sage design decisions. For example, if you bold typeface a certain element, do it consistently throughout the document. Your resume should be exceptionally visually appealing and inviting to the reader. Remember to think of your resume as a marketing advertisement. And our third rule, shorter is usually better. Everyone freely gives advice on resume length. Most of these self-declared experts say a resume should always be 1 page. Your resume could be 500 pages long if it kept the reader's attention. Don't blindly follow rules. Do what works. Sometimes it's appropriate to have a longer resume. But unless your life has been filled with a whole wide assortment of extraordinary achievements, make it shorter. 1 page is usually best if you can cram it all in. Always remember, no matter what, focus on the employer's needs, not yours. Imagine you're the person reviewing resumes. This individual isn't some anonymous paper pusher deep in the bowels of the personnel department. Likely, the person is either an HR expert or hiring manager who is deeply committed to finding the most qualified person for a particular job. This person cares deeply about how well they do their job. You need to write your resume to appeal directly to them. Putting yourself in the shoes of the person doing the hiring is the first and most important step in resume writing. This will help you market yourself rather than simply describe yourself. You can structure your resume in a number of ways: chronological, functional, or combined. While there's no right or wrong way to organize a resume, structure is a powerful tool in creating a document that meets the employer's need to understand you best. A chronological resume is a more traditional structure. The experience section is the focus of this resume. Each job, or the last several jobs, are described in some detail. The structure is primarily used when you're staying in the same profession or in the same type of work. The functional resume relies heavily on grouping key skills into different categories to demonstrate qualifications of a candidate for a particular job. This skills-based focus allows you to emphasize your strengths and soft pedal the flawed or absent employment record. The actual employment history section of a functional resume is typically brief, with a simple list of positions held with the company names and employment dates. Occasionally, some of this information is even intentionally omitted altogether. If you've held a number of different or unrelated jobs during a relatively short period of time and are worried about being labeled as a job hopper, the functional resume could be the answer. This resume format can also work well for those entering the workforce for the first time or after a long absence. No matter the structure, there are 3 important components of your resume. A word of caution: you're going to see a whole lot of advice about the structure, sections, and organization of a resume. Frankly, there are many great ideas when it comes to resume components. A great resume always has 3 identifiable components: demographics, education, and experience. It might sound like common sense, but you would not believe the amount of resumes out there that lack accurate demographic information. A resume must provide the best means, and the only means, for an employer to contact you, over the phone and via email at the very least. Make sure this information is accessible and prominent to make the employer's job easy when they reach for the phone or head to their computer to talk with you further. Education is a critically important component of your resume. If you're still an undergraduate, list other academic achievements below your current university degree. Consider where on your resume you want to place education, depending on such factors as whether your education is relevant to your career field, whether you have an advanced degree, and how applicable your experience is. Use GPA information sparingly and only in situations in which academic performance has an impact on the hiring decisions for a particular job or industry. The third essential component is experience. The experience section should provide a job-relevant summary of your work-related experience. When formatting the experience section, use bullet points developed through the SBO formula. List experience in reverse chronological order, focused on most recent experience first. Include your job titles and organization name. Don't feel that you must limit this section to paid work experience, especially if you're still a college or recent graduate. What's the SBO formula I just mentioned? Good thing you asked. Think of the bullet points in your resume as accomplished statements. Situations alone sound bland, like wrote articles or research topics. When you add your behaviors and outcomes, you set yourself apart with statements like crafted archivable databases that saved staff several hours per work week. So, how do we use the SBO formula to create good bullet points? To craft each bullet point of your resume, use this SBO formula. In this simple formula, you'll describe a situation, your behavior, and the outcome you achieved. Each element of the formula, situation, behavior, and outcome, are brought together and craft a single sentence, a bullet point in your resume. First, use an action verb to describe a situation or task. Then, describe the action you took. Tell what you did. And finally, describe what happened, the outcome, in measurable terms. Other items you might want to consider when building your resume may include an objective, volunteer activities, awards, affiliations, leaderships, and reference. There are countless ways to structure a resume, which means endless possibilities when building one. As many ways as there are to structure a resume, there are more opinions about what to and what not to include. Always remember, build your resume with the employer as your audience in mind. Include only the relevant content to win an interview and the job. Remember, a resume is your best way to summarize yourself and engage the audience in what you bring to the table to the position you're applying for.